Met fans are okay.
All right, everybody, you know what to do. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Another episode of Sports Hound starting right now.
Let's go! This ain't the fuck night! Oh, this game can heat stink!
Oh, shit!
It's gone!
All right, everybody, it's Monday night. We are the Sports Hounds, exclusively on A2DRadio.com. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brakeman. Frank Vesby's producing. As always, we are live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, and Instagram. Facebook, hopefully, be back up next week. So, you got a friend, look for us on Facebook. You're on YouTube. Tell them, get on over to YouTube. Don't forget to turn those notifications on. Hit that like and hit that subscribe. Don't miss a damn thing here on A2D Radio. If you can't catch us live, you can catch us, download us wherever you get your podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. Each and every Monday night, we are brought to you by ARIA Public Adjusting. Don't fight your homeowner's insurance alone. 813-564-3364. Tell them the Sports Hound sent you. They'll hook you up. No reason to fight alone when we got an ally like ARIA Public Adjusting. We're also brought to you by All Campus down on the Ocean City Boardwalk between 10th and 11th Street. You can get 20% off in the store by becoming an A2D member. Become an A2D member. Follow the link. You get gambling picks, merchandise giveaways, special shows, shout-outs, all kinds of stuff. A little bit of a lull in the sports gambling world. We got baseball, but hockey still got a little legs left. NBA is obviously over. We actually got a lot to talk about with it being such a lull time in sports. Obviously, we have a new NBA champion. We'll get into that. The NBA offseason, draft Thursday. So NBA offseason is getting real quick. And we got free agency right behind that. Sixers, Jazz, the draft, the Knicks. We'll get into it all. And we'll talk some MLB. Obviously, there's an NHL game tonight as well. We had quite a few coaching hires over the past couple days. Flyers get Torts in. Cassidy goes to the Knights. And I think that's it on the hockey hire.
DeBoer went to Dallas.
Okay, I missed that one. Okay. But we start each and every question with our poll. Our poll brought to you by Manscaped. Follow our link. Get 20% off and free shipping. There's the code Manscaped. It's time to throw your old hygiene habits up and upgrade your life with Manscaped. Like I said, 20% off and free shipping with the A2D promo code on manscaped.com. Warriors, Brad, 4 ships, 8 years. I don't think anyone can dispute that, like, this is a dynasty. I see some people disputing that it's a dynasty. It's crazy talk. I haven't rooted them in all their finals appearances, but, it is what it is. 4 out of 8 is
that's a dynasty. 4 championships in 8 years? Yeah.
And they kind of stunk the last 2 years, a little time off, so they band together. They get their guys back.
Injuries had a lot to do with that, though.
Ton to do with it, but they come back, they respond, they win the West, and they take out Boston. I thought it was a pretty good basketball team. So we'll start with the head of the snake, Steph Curry. Brad, is Steph Curry the greatest point guard in NBA history?
I thought he was more of a shooting guard, but
I think he's a point guard. He's the trigger man. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the primary ball handler. I know they have some other guys that come in with like Jordan Poole and Gary Payton Jr. and whatnot. But
what do you consider? What position do you consider Michael Jordan? Shooting guard or point guard?
He's a 2.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay, because he had the ball almost all the time.
Right. Okay.
He kind of conducted the offense all the time. It's hard to say. It's hard to define that between both of them. You could make the argument for both of them, but I mean, he's definitely in the conversation for one of the top 5.
I think he's the greatest point guard to ever live. A transcendent figure. Like, there's no doubt about it that the Warriors have seized this 2010 to current NBA basketball, and they made it their own. You know, they're not.
Do you think he's better? Do you think he's better than Kobe Bryant? Because I don't think so.
No, but Kobe's definitely a two guard.
Yeah.
Kobe and Mike, I mean, I know they got their assist numbers, and I know they had the ball in their hands a lot, especially in crunch time, but you know, Steph makes his teammates better, which I think is the benchmark of a great point guard.
If you were to argue those three, you're not gonna lose with either one of those three. I think I kind of consider Kobe. I mean, I know Fisher was more of the point guard than Kobe was on those great Laker teams, but I mean, I look at it this way: who brought the ball up the court most of the time during crunch time? You know, all three of them. So, you know, and who looked for their shot first, and then would defer to their teammates when they had to. All three of them.
But like, when you're looking at raw point guard, what I consider a raw point guard, like, you have Steph. He's at the top for me. He's the greatest ever. He transformed the game. Like, all this 3-and-D stuff and everybody living and dying by the three and everyone screaming it, bitching.
Well, if you're asking if you're asking about one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time, I mean,
he's the best.
Yeah, him and then probably Larry Bird is a close second.
But, I mean, the way he just is just the face of this generation of basketball, it can't be denied.
There's no question if you're talking about the 2000s, okay, which probably would be fair to go into the 2000s, because I mean we could go back to Bill Sharman and guys like that, you know, all the way back to that era and start comparing, which is hard to do. But if we want to just talk like 2000 going forward, okay, and forget like Clyde Frazier and Jerry West and guys like that in this age, probably he is at this point, you know, the best of this century so far. No question about that. He's a great player. You know, I mean, I like to pick on him because I thought that LeBron was a better all-around player than him. But, you know, LeBron doesn't have the eye of the tiger like this guy. This guy really reminds me a lot of Kobe Bryant and Jordan, because he's got the eye of the tiger. I mean, he really does.
Comments flying in. We're going to get everybody's comments. But when you look at pure point guards, what I consider pure point guards, it's Steph, it's Magic, it's Isaiah, and that's pretty much locked in stone for me at this point.
How about Jason Kidd?
He'd be in that next tier. I mean, Chris Paul regular season, I can't ignore his stats, even though he can't win a game of checkers.
Yeah, Jason Kidd won a championship, though.
He got one at the end with Dirk.
Right.
And he was on all those Nets teams that went every year but couldn't beat Shaq and Kobe. Because
his mates, he didn't have as good a surrounding cast. It's like,
and then you have guys like Stockton, and you have Gary Payton, and I guess there's guys that maybe I'm missing from way back.
Well, if you want to go like Frazier, Jerry West, you know, and even further back, Oscar Robertson, Bill Sharman, Bob Cousy. If you want to go back that far, there's got all these guys like that. But the game's a lot different now. Now these guys never took a lot of 3-point shots.
Yeah, but it's different because of Steph, I would argue, and that goes into his all-time great resume.
It's different because you have a 3-point shoot. You have a 3-point line where guys can take 3-point shots, and we don't. The thing is, we don't know how good the older guys like Frazier, like West, you know, and like Sharman, Cousy, and those kind of guys, Oscar Robertson. We don't know what they would have been like if they could take 3-point shots. I would think they probably would be unbelievably great, but we don't really know the answer to that.
But don't you think like guys like LeBron and the guys like Steph, if they played in the 70s and 80s, no one would be able to cover them. That's how I feel.
I don't think that's true, because I think that they played a lot more physical back then, and they let a lot more stuff get go by. So if you're talking about the guys in the 60s, 70s, and 80s playing by today's rules covering them, that they would have a problem. But if he went into their era with that era's rules, he'd be a basket case.
But
Especially
don't you think if LeBron, but Brett, don't you think if LeBron knew going in that he wasn't going to get anything, and he was allowed to be physical as much as guys would be physical with him in that era, don't you think that would benefit LeBron?
Well, I don't know. There were some pretty nasty masher type players back. I mean, how would he have reacted if he had to play the '89 Pistons? Or some of those Knick teams from the '90s, or the Indiana Pacer teams from the '90s, or the Bulls, or the or even Kobe's Lakers. He would have had a problem with those teams.
So, like,
they all had guys that would have knocked him all over the court.
So pick whatever Heat team you think was the best that won a championship and put them against the '89 Pistons. You don't think the Heat team would win a 7-game series? I do.
The Heat?
Yeah, that's when LeBron was ridiculous on the Heat. He was out of this world.
I'm thinking more along the lines of the Alonzo Mourning team, who was pretty darn good. Too.
No, we're talking LeBron and how.
Okay, LeBron. All right. I mean, I think the old Heat teams with Mourning would have beat the team with the other team that the Heat had with LeBron, because that team would have just tied him up defensively.
No, like Tim Hardaway is covering Dwayne Wade. I don't think so.
I think Tim Hardaway would knock Dwayne Wade into the third row. That's what I think.
Whoa!
Dwayne
Wade.
Do you think Alonzo Mourning would pick LeBron up and throw him into the third row, and LeBron would be sitting there crying, and they'd be all laughing at him?
If he could catch him,
huh?
If he could catch him,
if he tried to drive into the lane, he'd be knocked down every time.
Yeah, he might take some licks, but LeBron would also finish at the hoop.
Last the whole game. They'd be knocking him down like it's nobody's business. The only guy that transcended all that stuff was Shaq, because Shaq was the Tyrannosaurus Rex of that era. Nobody could mess with Shaq. Shaq could go in and just be a bowling ball, and nobody could cover it.
But like, if Larry Bird had to cover Kevin Durant,
Larry Bird could not cover Kevin. Larry Bird really couldn't cover anybody, quite honestly. But
that's what I'm saying. That's like.
But
that's
Kevin
why
Durant,
I think that these freaks, because these guys are a bunch of pussies today. I'll give you that, but they're also way faster and way more athletic than the guys were in the 70s and the 80s.
Kevin Durant couldn't shoot like Larry Bird. Larry Bird, like
that wasn't the question.
He never missed. I mean, and he shared the ball. I mean, Larry Bird was a much different kind of player. Larry Bird could get a triple double every night if he wanted to.
But they're both small forwards.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they would have to cover each other.
Yeah, they would. Neither one could cover each other. I don't think either one could stop either one, to be honest with you.
So
but, then you look at, if you want to look at some other physical teams, the Washington Bullets back in the day when they had Elvin Hayes and who was the other crazy ass that they had on that team?
I feel like guys today would feast against that.
Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes would have knocked those guys on their asses without a problem. And the Celtics back then, they had this guy ML Carr, who was the rudest, dirtiest player in the history of the NBA, who had no problem hurting people. I mean, he was like a hockey player playing basketball. That guy.
And you put Steph in that era. Like, let's get off LeBron for a second, because
Steph
is
different, because Steph could be like the Calvin Murphy of that era. He could kind of just hide and get open and shoot if he had to. He doesn't really go down. He doesn't drive the ball that much. He's just an incredible shooter, and he's a great passer.
No, but he was, like you say, he's a great passer. He also pushes pace.
Yeah, but he could listen. He could play in any era. More Curry. There's
So,
because
like,
because of his great shooting, he could play in any era. I'm not sure about some of the other guys in this era and back then. Remember, the rules were totally different, Rob. I mean, you could hand
I
check
understand.
guys.
That's why these are fun. These are fun debate trying to compare.
Yeah,
It's like
I mean,
in football, like if Dan Marino got to play with these rules today, or Elway got to play with these rules today in the NFL, they would throw for 8,000 yards a season. It would be ridiculous.
So would Brett Favre too.
Brett Favre, take your pick.
Yeah,
Take your pick.
I mean, it would. Yeah, no, I agree with you. But it would be an interesting battle. But you know what? I got to give Golden State a lot of credit. You know what? They proved one thing. All right, Durant needed Golden State more than Golden State needed Durant.
It wasn't obvious before this.
Well, to me, it was like I wonder if Golden State didn't have him those couple of years if they could have kept winning. But obviously they
only signed him because they couldn't beat LeBron. LeBron beat him in Game 7 at Oracle with that great block, and they went out and signed Durant.
Yeah, and then it
was game over. They were just too good, and nothing on God's green earth was going to stop that Warriors team from just coasting to an NBA championship.
Exactly. Although the Rockets gave them a good run for their money.
Yeah, but my boy Chris Paul came up.
Yeah, no, he came up short. So did Harden, unfortunately.
At least Harden was on the court. That's the only thing.
He was.
Big a defense.
He was, but Harden couldn't beat them by himself. I mean, he didn't have enough help.
So, like, my top 3 point guards, like, pretty set in stone, are Curry, Magic, and then Isaiah Thomas. And then you got a whole tier of other guys like Chris Paul, Stockton, Gary Payton, Jerry West that are on the second tier of that. So that's where I stand. Let us know what you think in the comments. But, I mean, you know,
it's hard to compare guys from the 70s and 80s. It's a different era. They didn't shoot 3-pointers back then.
Brian Daly's in the house. Check him out. Hockey Island should be locked into the Stanley Cup Finals. Heading back to Tampa. Colorado looks really good. We'll see if Tampa can respond at home. What's up, guys? Hard to disagree with the poll. Not a Steph guy, but his stats and accolades speak for themselves. Bob Brinkman throwing some love at Oscar Robertson. I'll dish that to you. That's before my time.
Well, Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double every game for a triple-double a game for his career. So that I think is something that people forget. Oscar Robertson was also back in the day. He was an oversized. I know you weren't around when he played, but he was an oversized point guard. He was big back then for a point guard. I think he was like 6'4", 6'5". Back then, that was very tall for a point guard.
Yeah, so, I mean, Steph's 6'3". I think that gets lost in the shuffle of Steph too. So he's a competent defender. He can cover on the perimeter.
Oh, Steph is tremendous. I mean, look, right now he's the best player in the game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He spearheads one of the great franchises. I mean, 4 championships now. Now we're talking. You're now talking about a guy who's on the same level as Kobe Bryant. Very close to Michael Jordan. You know, he is at that point now. He's on the same level, and I know Shaquille O'Neal is not a point guard, but I mean, just in overall greatness, 4 championships is a lot.
I think the benchmark.
He didn't go changing teams, to try to win championships. I mean, I heard LeBron wants to go play for the Warriors. Now LeBron wants Kyrie Irving to sign with the Lakers. I mean, LeBron can never just do it by himself. He's always crying about something.
You do need a team. And the only thing I'll say to that is, look, LeBron's played out. I was a big LeBron guy back when he was on the Heat and the Cavs because the Sixers were just so god-awful. I need to latch on to something to have a rooting interest in the NBA. But LeBron, he's played out. Like, I'm sick of him. I think everybody's sick of him. Like, he's talking about moving teams and getting Kyrie back and then just –
go ahead, get Kyrie back. Is Kyrie going to play? I mean, I keep hearing the Knicks might be involved in getting Kyrie, and I'm sitting there like, oh, no, don't get him. He'll just set the team back 10 years. if you get
It's
him.
it's a very Nick thing to do, to sign Kyrie Irving.
That would not. I don't like that at all. I would just leave him alone. He's too weird.
Thomas Arnone, he agrees to the poll. Bob Brinkman Curry is the best pure shooter. And we got soccer, not football. Soccer content would be really attract fans into this channel. We have a soccer show, as we used to, kicking it stateside. And we got big news of World Cup. Philadelphia going to be a host cup for the a host city for the World Cup. I think it's 2026. So you have that looking forward to if you're a soccer guy. We got everything here at A2D Radio.
Yeah, they have. They also have the Meadowlands is going to be
yeah, Chicago, L.A., New York.
Yep, all the big cities in this country are going to be hosting it, and should be interesting. As far as Kyrie goes, I see Matthew Wall saying Kyrie is the most selfish player in the NBA. He's a weird guy. As a Knicks fan, I don't want that guy on our team. Don't start with him. And that would just be. I hope they're smart enough to not fall into that trap. He's not going to bring them an NBA championship.
What about the Knicks over the past 25 years indicates intelligence?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But the last couple of years, they've been run better. It seems like the Leon Rose group seems to have a better grip on what's going on with the team. So hopefully they won't fall into that trap, because he's not the answer. If you're going to try to get Brunson from Dallas, try to give him a poison pill contract that Dallas can't match. They could do that. They're going to have all kinds of cap space. Not this off season, but the following cap off season. Make the contract to the point where Dallas just can't pay him over the years 3 and 4.
And you got the dynasty. Well, I see chumps like Bill Simmons out there trying to say the Warriors aren't a dynasty because they beat his beloved Celtics. That's ridiculous. They've grabbed hold. They're like, I don't know, because like
Bill, don't worry. They're not the dynasty the Celtics were. Okay, the Celtics were an all-time dynasty. They won 10 and 11 years. The Warriors aren't going to do that. So just relax. We're not saying that the Warriors are better than those Celtics teams of the 50s and 60s. Okay,
so
you're saying they are a dynasty, though. You have to give them that.
So you're looking at the dynasties. Like the Bulls are the best dynasty. They three-peated on two separate occasions. They won 6 and 8 years. And had Jordan played those 2 years that he took off to play baseball, they probably would have won those 2 years too. So that's the benchmark for dynasty. Then I'm gonna put the Lakers, the first wave of Lakers dynasty, ahead of the Warriors as well, with Shaq and Kobe. And then I got the Warriors. Magic.
What about the first wave with Kareem and Magic?
I'm taking the Warriors
over Kareem and Magic.
Yes,
that was a pretty good team too.
It was a pretty good team. They had Worthy and they had all kinds of guys.
And the wave in the 70s when they had Wilt, Elgin Baylor, and Jerry West on the team. And that was a.
Well, I've already made my opinion clear that I think guys today would feast in the earlier bully.
Yeah, I don't know what rules are we talking about.
I don't think it matters. I think the guys today would just be too big, fast, strong, and athletic for the guys in the 80s. There's a couple exceptions. A couple guys were ahead of their time in that era, no question about it. But
who's gonna? I just want to ask you one question. Who's gonna cover Wilt?
I mean,
nobody.
Wilt's got to cover small on the other end too. So Wilt
was a great defensive player.
Yeah, but he protecting the rim.
Yeah. Do you know why? Do you know how goaltending was invented?
Because of him. They changed a lot of rules because of Wilt.
Yeah, they had to change the rules because he was blocking it. Nobody could shoot over him. And physically,
that's fine. But these teams are going to be able to get Wilt away from the basket, get him out of his comfort zone, especially a good coach like Steve Kerr.
They try. I'll tell you what. A lot of people tried in his era. They couldn't do it.
In that era. Now we're mixing errors and we're projecting. I think the guys today would have a field day.
There were two centers who gave Wilt trouble: Willis Reed and Bill Russell. They were the only ones that could. They were the only ones that could give him a run for his money. But other than that, nobody could do anything with him. He was impossible to cover. You put him and Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, who was one of the greatest small forwards of all time, on that same team. That Laker team was 69-13 in 1970 and 71. That team was a historically great team. You take a look at the Wilt team with the Sixers. The Wilt team with the Sixers when they had Wilt and Billy Cunningham and Chet Walker and Hal Greer. I mean, they had a whole team of Hall of Famers. That team went 68-13. That team was.
I mean, that's what the Warriors have.
And they swept the Celtics. I mean, and when the Celtics were in their heyday.
Look, and I don't even think the single, what was it, 2 years, 1 year they had Durant, the Warriors. I don't think even Mike and the Bulls would beat that Jordan team. Maybe they would, but no one else would. The Warriors with Durant.
They were that team was great.
That's probably the greatest team of all time.
The Bulls team when they had Rodman on the team. That team.
Yeah, it was the second wave.
Yeah, that was when they had Pippen, Rodman, and Jordan. That was a crazy good team.
That would be good because Durant is a little soft, and Rodman could maybe get under his skin. But then you got Draymond on the other side, who's like the Rodman of this era. Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, and what did the I think it was the 96 Bulls or 98 Bulls went 71 and whatever.
They were 72-10.
No. So that's the best. Yeah, that's the best of the Bulls. The Durant team's the best of the Warriors. That'd be a hell of a series. Hell of a series.
That would be because you know what they're also in the same time period, so it'd be easier to compare. It's hard to compare guys back then to early guys to teams now. It's just hard because the rules are so different. And the players weren't as big and weren't as strong for the most part. But obviously there were exceptions. I mean, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if you put him in this era, nobody would be able to stop him. Because nobody could stop the skyhook then. Nobody could stop the skyhook now.
Greg Malakovic, what's up, fellas? He disagrees with the poll on all time. He's the best of the 2000s so far, more likely. I mean, I guess Greg likes Magic or Isaiah or I mean, that's really the only guys I can put up against Steph at this point are those two. And if you like one of those two guys over them, I'm not going to think they're all in the same tier. And Isaiah, I don't think he never gets the credit he rightfully deserves because, nobody liked him. He got snubbed from the dream.
That's true. Isaiah is very underrated.
And he was pretty good. He got snubbed off the Dream Team because nobody liked him. Nobody liked how those Pistons teams played basketball. They were tough, rigid, dirty bullies.
Yes, they were.
They're lucky. I might not even be a Sixers fan if I was alive to watch the Pistons. I might be a Pistons fan.
But they were. I'll tell you what. Everybody. That team, either you hated them or you loved them. I loved watching that team.
Did you see the 30 for 30 on them?
No.
Oh, it's one of the better ones in my opinion. But you got Vinny Microwave Johnson, you had Joe Dumars, you had Isaiah,
Bill Laimbeer.
You bring Laimbeer in from Cleveland. Rick Mahorn was just a bad dude, and you had Rodman and Sally off the bench.
Right, and they were also pretty. And Sally wasn't quite as nasty as Rodman was. Really nasty when he first came in the league. I mean, and having Rick Mahorn on the team, that you talk about a bad one bad influence influencing another bad influence. Holy smokes!
Yeah, and when they would open up the newspapers the next day about how dirty they were and they were the bad boys, it just fueled their fire. They just got meaner and nastier.
They didn't care. They were just like, beat us. go to the foul line and beat us if you can.
Right, and they were instantly under everybody's skin. Sometimes
Right.
the game, when the Pistons came to town, sometimes the game was over before it even started because everyone was just all psyched out that they wanted to beat the Pistons so bad that it worked against them.
Yeah, and they would try to drive down the lane. They'd be on their back. They would have no problem committing a couple of nasty fouls. They'd be on their back, and then they'd stop trying to drive the whole game and have to shoot outside. And, nobody really could just do that all the time. You've got to get some inside scoring to beat a team like that. And they were very – nobody could beat that team.
And then you look at Steph as an all-time great. I don't think I can put him in my top 5. It's close, though. He might be 6 or 7, but I don't think he's in my top 5.
I think he's in the top 10 now.
Top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I think he is a place in the top 10.
But
Most
Mike's
definitely.
better. Mike, LeBron, Kobe, Will. He might be in the top 5. He's already said he's the best point guard, so I can't put Isaiah or Magic over him. I think Curry's better than Bird. I mean, if you want to put Kareem up there ahead of him, maybe Shaq. Shaq was so dominant. Shaq would average 38 and 17, for 3 straight years.
I know.
And
Olajuwon was pretty dominant too.
He's another one. I mean, we've had this debate before. I'm taking Shaq over Akeem, but especially
They were close.
especially with
Listen,
remember when
Hakeem
Shaq would run the floor though in Orlando when he first came in.
Hakeem really couldn't stop Shaq. If Shaq got under the basket with the ball, Hakeem couldn't stop him either.
So I mean, it's just a special, really decade of basketball that the Warriors have given us here, and it was built from within. And let me ask you this, Brett: how many games did the Warriors lose on purpose to assemble all this talent?
I don't think they lost any games on purpose.
Zero,
they lost because they got
zero tanking required.
They got injured. They lost Steph and they lost Clay. And
Steph was the 7th pick in the draft. Draymond is a 2nd-round pick. I think Clay was late 1st round. I don't think he was even a lottery pick. I would have to look that up.
He was in the 20s, wasn't he?
I think he went to Utah. Not really a basketball powerhouse. I can't imagine he was a lottery pick. And you fill it in with, you bring in Durant. Okay, but if Durant wants to come, what are you going to tell him? No. You stand on your moral high ground and say, no, you're not going to come. No, you're going to take Durant. You're going to run through the league like they did. And Iguodala, and you fill in with Jordan Poole, and you develop Gary Payton Jr., and Wiggins comes in. James Wiseman hasn't even played.
Yeah, I was going to say Wiseman, who was the 1st pick in the draft a couple of years ago, has he even played?
Not really. He's in the G League rehabbing. I think they just said they were good. They didn't bring him in. And that's not how you build. I mean, I say it all the time here. You don't win with a dominant center in today's NBA. You just don't. The proof's in the pudding.
Right now it's a guards league for sure.
You need big men that rebound and do the grunt work. And you don't need Shaq.
The point guards and the shooting guards are the key players. And you
need 5-6 guards that can go.
Yep. You're right about that. That really is the biggest difference now.
I mean, that's why I just laugh at when guys we're clamoring here for Furkan Korkmaz to get more minutes. We're clamoring here for guys like Danny Green and Thibault to step up. Those guys wouldn't even play on the Warriors.
No.
Or the Celtics for that matter. And it did make me happy that Boston lost.
The Celtics did give them a pretty good fight, but in the end, Golden State is just a great team.
Well, the finals on the whole was a 0 out of 10. I was not interested. Blowout.
When Golden State won Game 4, it was clearly going to be over at that point.
Right, because then they were up.
Boston had a chance to step on their throats, and they didn't do it.
Right, because Boston stole Game 1.
Right, and they had a 2-1 lead in the Boston Garden, and they couldn't win that 4th game. I mean, that was a key loss.
And then they win it on the road as well, further advancing the greatness meter on the run that they have. So, I mean, everybody's chasing the Warriors. Like I said, we're getting into the offseason pretty quick here. The draft is Thursday, and then free agency follows, right after that. It's an okay free agent class. It's not a very strong draft.
No, next year is supposed to be a better draft, and next year is supposed to have more quality free agents if they don't get re-signed or extended.
The clock, like the pressure gauge just went up on Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers here because Brooklyn is coming apart at the seams, right? And I think we can all agree that if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving play in all the games and are on the same page, that they're going to win. They would win more basketball games next year than the Sixers. I don't even think that can be argued. Homers are going to hop in the chat and crush me, but now Kyrie isn't happy with how negotiations are. The Nets aren't happy with how negotiations are. So they're stuck with Ben, who's not really interested in playing basketball for the Nets, the Sixers, or anybody. If you lose Kyrie as well to the Knicks or the Lakers,
I don't think they really want to bring him back, Rob. First of all, Kyrie is a pain in the ass. Let's be honest. Okay, I mean, is he worth all the trouble?
Well, it depends on how much say. We're about to see how much say Kevin Durant has in the team's offseason acquisitions because Kevin Durant.
But can't they get somebody else?
Who are you going to get?
I don't know. Listen, that's something that you'd have to ask Coach Durant about that.
Well, I'm just saying because Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are as thick as thieves. They're buddies.
Right. But
they iced Harden out, and it looks like they were right about that because Harden looks washed. That's a whole nother. That'll be our next topic: James Harden and the Philadelphia 76ers and what the hell they're going to do. But if you're Daryl Morey looking at the Nets potentially coming apart at the seam, like that's an opportunity where you can have a solid offseason and be better than the Nets.
But you still have Boston and Milwaukee you have to deal with.
And the Heat. I don't think the Heat are going anywhere.
Yeah, they still have all these the Atlanta Hawks. I still think they're a good team, and they're gonna figure it out.
But I mean, you get it. So Brooklyn is, and I don't know what the Lakers are gonna do. They have the Devin Ham, the Milwaukee assistant, comes in. You're stuck with Westbrook. I assume they're stuck with Westbrook. You have LeBron and Anthony Davis, who's never healthy. LeBron in the twilight of his career. So, I mean, those are big market, high-profile players that are really in flux right now. So they're going to set the market in terms of free agents. And then the other big markets like the Knicks and whoever else is looking to make a splash. I think I read the Spurs are looking to make a splash. Detroit is looking to make a splash. The best free agent, in my opinion, is DeAndre Ayton, the center for the Suns, who they don't really seem to be interested in bringing him back for whatever reason. Maybe they've been listening to me on the Sports Hounds and A2D Radio and seeing that centers don't equal championships like they once did in this league. They just don't. So I think that's the splash you make if you're Detroit or San Antonio. Jakob Poeltl down there, who I think is a pretty good big man, he looks to be on his way out. They're looking to trade him, it looks like. So, a lot happening. It should be a very eventful NBA draft. Now,
well, here's the team that I'm just wondering what is going on with is New Orleans. What is going on in New Orleans right now?
Well, they got to be looking to dump Zion, right?
Do you think? I mean, is Zion going to end up in New York with what's his name, with the guy on Dallas?
Brunson?
Brunson, yeah. Because those are the two guys that they seem to mention a lot in New York.
But I mean, like the Knicks are going to give Jalen Brunson a poison pill contract? Really?
Why not? He's a good young point guard. They need that. They need a guy like that on their team.
Good being the key word there. Because look what the Sixers did. The Sixers gave Tobias Harris, a good player, the $180 million max. Now you're stuck with them, and you're this close to back to purgatory.
But a guard, but he's a point guard. It's different. The Knicks have not really had a good young point guard since probably since Charlie Ward in the 90s.
Frank Ntilikina.
Ntilikina never panned out.
No, yeah, he's stuck. I'm just kidding.
No. I mean, Charlie Ward really has been the best point guard they've had in the last 20, 25 years, really.
So then that brings us to the Sixers. Reports coming. Harden is the elephant in the room. What are you going to do with Harden? Sounds like he's going to get a, less than like a lesser term deal for less than the max.
But he can pop in for the $47 million this year, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Which I don't even know why if I'm Daryl Morey, I'm saying opt in for your $47 million. Let's see how it goes, and then we'll talk about it next offseason if we still want to keep you.
Yeah, that's what I would do if I were the Sixers. I mean, I wouldn't be extending him.
But,
listen, he was very disappointing in Brooklyn. Kept getting hurt, and for whatever reason, he did not get along with Durant and Kyrie.
He doesn't really get along with anybody.
Well,
ever.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that. I mean, I don't know how well he gets along. He was getting along in the Sixers clubhouse. That I don't know, or their locker room. I don't know how they all got along.
I mean, look. I mean, like it got hidden. There was an immense honeymoon phase with James Harden coming to Philadelphia because Ben was out.
Right.
Like you just had to get Ben out. You had to get Ben out.
Yeah, anything to get rid of Ben was acceptable.
And then you killed your depth, which.
Yeah, but you know what? It's the off season now. They can fix that now.
But like, I don't think you get to. I think you still get eliminated in the second round with Drummond and Seth Curry on the team instead of Harden, and Ben just sitting out.
Probably.
So you got that, and then I said it last week or whenever we were talking about it. I'm against Bradley Beal. I'm against Damian Lillard. I don't think another max perimeter player puts this team at the expense of Tobias Harris because of the money, puts you any closer to an Eastern Conference final or a championship. I just don't.
Bradley Beal might because Bradley Beal he would fit in better.
Okay, but then you do that, you're completely capped out. You'll have no reinforcement for Joe, which will bring me to the 23rd pick in the draft, which the Sixers do own. They got to get a player at 23. They got to get a rotational bench piece to replace Danny Green or a big guy to be reinforcement for Joel Embiid. So I think you're priced out of big guys like Ayton. Obviously, that's not going to work. That's not going to fit. But guys like Montrezl Harrell, like, can you afford him? I don't think you can afford him if you're the Sixers.
No, I don't think so.
So, like,
not as they're currently. The thing is with them, if you want to get rid of, if you want to get rid of Tobias, you're going to have to probably attach another player with them that's really worthwhile to get another team to eat all that money. And in the NBA, you've got to also match. You
got to match the money.
Match the money too, which even makes it more difficult. So I don't. Is he even a tradable player at this point?
Who, Tobias?
Yeah.
Maybe. It depends on how motivated the Wizards are to mixing things up. But if you cultivate a Tobias Harris for Bradley Beal swap, however you have to do it, 3 teams, 4 teams, attached Thibault, whatever. Like Harden, Beal, Maxey and Embiid, I can't start Maxey. Maxey would have to come off the bench. Doesn't mean he won't get his minutes, because he will, because he's a promising young player, and I'm in no way am I trading Tyrese Maxey this offseason. But, like, that doesn't strike me as a team that can beat Milwaukee or Boston in a 7-game series in the playoffs.
I don't think those guys. Yeah, I don't think that he makes. If you're going to be trading a lot of these guys, are they going to be able to beat the Bucks or to beat the Celtics in a 7-game series? That's the question.
And, like, I had the list up last week. Like, give me Kyle Anderson, give me Gary Harris, give me a guy like that. And then the 23rd pick in the draft, I don't know how this draft is going to shake out. It's a very unpredictable draft. I think Jabari Smith out of Auburn and Paolo Banchero, the Italian freshman out of Duke, are by far the 2 best players in the draft. Jabari Smith's a freak. He should go 1 to the Magic.
Well, what about the Sixers drafting a backup center?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you watched any Auburn last year, guy who might be available at 23 is their 7-footer Walker Kessler.
See, that would be a good fit for them.
I think that would be is he going to be there? A 7'1" guy? 7'1", 250 with feet and passing skills? A very skilled big man. Very skilled big man. Is he going to be there at 23? I don't know. There's another center I like out of Memphis, Jalen Durant. I don't think there's a prayer that he's there. But, like, you look at some of these forwards, like, I need offense. I need shooting. I don't need a defensive stopper, which Elton Brand, who still has his voice, his seat at the table, he loves drafting defense. That's all fine and good, but you got to score points in today's NBA. So, like, if you give me Kyle Anderson and Walker Kessler with the 23rd pick in the draft, I would feel better about that because it's more of a team. It's more of a complete team. The pieces fit together better than I would exchanging Tobias Harris for Bradley Beal. We're getting Zach LaVine in here.
Why would the Bulls let him go?
Though? He's a free agent, I think. Well, I had to.
Is he unrestricted, or is he restricted?
Let me see. Let me get the list up here. Like, Kyle Anderson would help this team immensely. Do it all forward from Memphis. Are you priced out of him? I don't know. Like Mo Bamba, he's a restricted free agent. Can you get your hands on him? I don't know. Beal's unrestricted. Like Chris Boucher, 29 years old out of the Raptors, unrestricted free agent. That would be a good sign. That would get me more excited that this team can be deeper and better equipped to beat the Celtics or the Bucks in a 7-game series. Miles Bridges down there in Charlotte. He's a restricted free agent.
Well, what do you think? Who do you think what position do you think the Sixers need to patch up the most right now?
You need your bench forwards. And
what about a guy like Dennis Schroeder on the Rockets?
I mean, okay, because he's a point guard too. You never have enough ball handlers.
That's what I mean. I mean, he can score a little bit. He'll get you between 10 and 15 points and be very serviceable. I mean, I think that he's a quality player. He doesn't make that much money either. What was he making last year?
Look,
he only made $5,890,000 last year. You could definitely fit him in. I mean, that's the kind of guy that you might be looking at to try to improve the team. You don't have to keep getting trophy players all the time.
Well, that's what Morey wants to do because he's an idiot, and I
but you don't have to.
I can't stand it.
But you don't have to do that. That's my point.
But that's what Morey wants. Morey wants to build a team that looks sexy on the Xbox that falls short in the second round every year. He seems like Daryl Morey would rather do that than win a championship.
Yeah, I'm looking at like some of the top free agents. They're not going to be able to afford it. They're not going to be able to afford any of these guys.
Look, I look at the Sixers and they couldn't defend the perimeter worth a lick. That's because Ben Simmons quit and went home. Right? He's one of the best defenders in the league, guard 1 through 5. No one can take that away from him when he's engaged.
Right.
So your defense takes it. Like Danny Green was too old to defend. Matisse Thybulle can defend, but he doesn't give you a lick of anything on the offensive end of the floor. So you got to be able to defend the perimeter. You need to improve your depth, and you need to get a backup big man. You need insurance for Joe. Because DeAndre Jordan was a miserable disaster for this team.
Yeah, he was.
Like you can't play.
He's just old. He's too old.
You can't play Paul Reed and Charles Bassey in a Game 6 or a Game 7 in a playoff series against a good team like Milwaukee, Boston, Miami. Take your pick. You can't do it. So you need to get stronger with your depth. You need to defend the perimeter way better. But you know how many times last year I watched the Sixers just let an opposing guard get to 15, 18 foot and just get peppered by the mid-range game? All the time. Like,
well, I'm looking at like the restricted free agents. Okay, some of the restricted ones. What about a guy like Anthony Simmons on Portland? He seems to be a pretty good player.
He is a good player. I'd be all for that. That'd be awesome. That would get me more excited than a Bradley Beal for Tobias Harris swap.
He didn't make. Again, here's another guy who, he's not going to get a ton of money. I don't think he's $20-30 million player.
No, and you look at the draft. You're picking 23rd. Not horrendous. You got Maxey at 21, so you're capable of getting a player at that portion of the draft. So, like
right.
Walker Kessler, Jalen Duran, those would be dream scenarios for me, because then you get a young buck behind Joe, and you don't have to worry about it. And you can fill in Paul Reed and Bassey, as needed. And then, you got to get forwards and guards. You got to get perimeter guys here that can defend and play offense. Like, look at the Celtics, who you're chasing in the East. Tatum, Brown, Marcus Smart, Derek White. Like, they're 5-6 deep on the perimeter, and they can all score the basketball, and they can all defend. You can't have a one-dimensional guy like Thybulle playing, potentially starting. You just can't.
No, but I named a couple of guys that you might be able to get. I'm taking a look at Andre Drummond. You might be able to get him back. Who knows?
Maybe he's a free agent.
He's a free agent.
But if the Nets lose Kyrie somehow, which I think they'd be smart enough to do a sign and trade somehow with that, so you get something back. But the Nets are really vulnerable. They're in a tough spot with this knucklehead Kyrie. So,
they could. Yeah, either way, it's probably a losing proposition for them. So I don't know how you could replace it. I mean, the only way the Nets could replace a guy like him is if they were able to somehow get Zach LaVine to come over, which is a big ask, because I don't know if he'd want to play there.
I'm bringing up a mock draft right now. I hate NFL mock drafts because there's just so many guys, and I don't watch college football like that. But NBA mocks and the NBA draft, I'm engaged in because I'm such a big college basketball fan.
Well, there's also less players,
so it's easier to keep track of.
Right.
Yeah, we'll go with this one. This one's from Fantasy Pros. Not bad. But, the top of the draft is pretty set. The top two guys should be Bonchero and Jabari Smith out of Auburn. Jabari Smith is. I'm not going to say any of these guys. Like Cade Cunningham last year was, you couldn't miss him. You had to be blind to miss him as a max player in this league. I don't think there's any guys that are no doubt about it max players in this draft. You look down like Jaden Ivey, like at 4, like that's potential suicide. I watched him fold up hard against St. Peter's in the Sweet 16. He was a no-call, no-show. No thanks. Promising player. This Keegan Murray out of Iowa, he's a good player. You got a bunch of Kentucky guys in it. You got a bunch of Duke guys in it. Tell you what, whoever gets this Benedict Mathurin guy out of Arizona, they're going to get projected 8th in New Orleans. That'd be a really good pick. If your Knicks can get their hands on him at, I think, the 11th pick.
I don't know what they're going to be. I from what I keep hearing, they want to move up. They're looking to move up to number 8. I don't know who's at number 8 that excites them so much, but they want to get to number 8. That's what.
Do they have 2 picks?
The Knicks, not till next year.
So they'll have to use their capital for next year to maybe move up.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who they're targeting.
I don't know.
Could be Jaden.
Yeah, they've been very close-mouthed about that. When they asked,
I don't really know anything about these G League guys. Shaden Sharp has all the tools. He'll be a top 10 pick, but like, am I mortgaging draft capital to go up and get Jaden Ivey to pair with RJ Barrett on the perimeter? I'm not doing that. I don't think he's good enough to warrant.
I already told you. I know their top priority is Jalen Brunson. That's established in New York. They've mentioned him 1,000 times. They all want him. They all want to get him. So I don't know what they're going to do.
And then this guy Chet Holmgren, who has a lot of skills, center out of Gonzaga. This guy's a twig. He's 7'2" or whatever. He's 190 pounds. Like he's skinny. He's got to hit the weights because I don't think he's going to be able to defend anybody.
There was
in the
NBA.
NBA.
There was a guy like that who, when he first came in the league, was skinny like that. He Dikembe Mutombo. And you
like
all
this
know
guy's not a rim protector, Brad. He's like a positionless basketball player, like a Durant or a Giannis. But I don't think he has the mentality of those two guys. He doesn't have the body of those two guys either. He's very skilled, but I'd be really nervous hitching my franchise to a guy like Chet Holmgren. I just don't see who he's going to be able to defend. I think he's potential to get bullied.
I mean, I don't know what they're looking at right now. They're going to have a lot of decisions they have to make.
But like Johnny Davis going in the top 10, shooting guard out of Wisconsin, like really? Nice player, don't get me wrong. Really nice player, but is he going to be able to shoot at the perimeter at the rate you have to shoot at the perimeter at to be serviceable on the perimeter in the NBA? I don't know. This draft has small forward.
The Knicks if you're looking at the Knicks, they already have a guy in that position who can do that. That's Barrett.
Yeah, they have a small forward out of Duke getting picked by the Knicks on Fantasy Pros, AJ Griffin, who he can shoot and stretch the floor from the 3 position.
They've already got a guy that can do that, though.
But if they don't move up, like this
quickly,
is what
quickly can do that for them. So
But quickly, he's a defensive guy. He's better than Matisse at offense. Don't get me wrong; he's a better player than Matisse. But to me, that's your 6th man.
Yeah, but I know they had him playing point guard at the end of the season. He did a nice job in a very small sample size.
Like Tari Eason, I see getting linked to the Sixers, small forward out of LSU. Like, that's just a meh. That'd be a meh pick, if you ask me. EJ Liddell out of Ohio State, like he's a tweener. He's like 6'7" and needs to play power forward. Like, no thanks. Ty another Kentucky guy, Ty Washington. So that brings down 22. They have Walker Kessler going 22 to Memphis. Like, I think that's the steal of the first round as I'm going through this mock. That's a perfect fit for the Sixers, Walker Kessler. You're skilled, 7-foot big man. He can pass. He's got good feet. He can protect the rim. He's 7'1", 250, so he's not a twig. And I think that should be a high priority. But, Kenny Chandler. Trevor Keels I like out of Duke. He's a small forward. He's just a real beefy.
I just think if I'm Philly, I want to get some guys who can just score, who can come off the bench and shoot. I think that's what they need. That's what they need to address. Is to solidify the 6, the 6, the 7, and the 8 guy. They can come off the bench and give you offense. They need that.
And the Sixers doesn't look like they have no second-round pick. There's only 58 picks in this draft because a couple teams had to forfeit their second-round picks. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I think it was the Heat and the Bucks had to forfeit their second-round picks, maybe prior trades or something like that. I have no idea.
Wonder what they did.
But Kendall Brown, I'm surprised he went in the draft. He's a small forward out of Baylor. He can really defend. But that's just like drafting another Matisse Thybulle. I think it's a little bit of a reach at number 23. He should have went back to Baylor, that kid. But, the money they throw around in the NBA, I guess you can't.
Rob, there's so many good shooting two guards, either as free agents. They can probably find a veterans minimum guy that can shoot the basketball, and you can use as a you can bring him off the bench.
Wendell Moore can shoot. He's out of Duke. He's a small forward. That's not a bad.
Yeah, I think
that would be a bad pick.
I think they should be trying to find a shooter. Little instant offense.
So, I just worry about Embiid. Embiid's never healthy when we need him the most. Ever. So, I need a guy that I can, A, play when Joe inevitably gets hurt, and B, play when I need to give Joe a back-to-back off or Joe's sore or you load manage Joe. So, that's a big deal. That's a big void that.
Well, they've got to find a way to be able to make sure he's playing and he's healthy in the playoffs. I don't know how you do that, but it just seems like Toronto.
This is what centers do. They break down and they get hurt.
It seems
why
to
you
me
don't
like
build your team around them.
It seems to me though that the Toronto Raptors were going out of their way to hurt him.
Where is Williams from Duke going in the draft? Mark Williams, he's like a mid first round guy. It's tough to tell with this draft. It's really tough to handicap this draft because you got two guys at the top, Bonchero and Jabari Smith, and then you kind of got everybody else. Where I think picks 3 through 23 at the Sixers, you can really jumble them up. Like Shaedon Sharp's going to go early. Holmgren's going to go early. Matherin's going to go early, at least in my opinion. Jaden Ivey, someone will bite on Jaden Ivey because he's got good size. And he did show a lot in the Big Ten. So, I don't know, Thursday's going to be interesting. You have to hit on this 23rd pick if you're the Sixers. And they've done it before. Matisse was a mid-20s pick. If I can get the offensive version of Matisse Thybulle at the 23rd pick or a big guy, that's what we need. By we need the Sixers. We don't need Bradley Beal. We don't need Damian Lillard. We don't need an Xbox fantasy team here to overcome the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks. And Mark Williams here on this Fantasy Pros, I'll tell you, just had him here. There's Eason. Mark Williams, I have him going to the Hornets at 13. Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player. He's a center. Maybe he falls. You grab him. Let's see what his height is. Because sometimes these guys play center in the college level, and they're like 6'8", and that's just not going to – the only way you can play center in the league if you're 6'8" is if you're like a Draymond Green, just like highly skilled, really good at defensive, can do a bunch of different things for you.
But that's a little undersized as a center.
But anyway, it's going to be interesting. Like, hopefully Morey has a plan, and I hope his plan is just to not load up on stars. I don't think that's what in the best interest of the Philadelphia 76ers.
I agree with you about that. I agree with you. They got to stop trophy hunting.
And then you got
you've got enough stars on your team. Get some. You got to get some role players who really can fill roles that you need them to fill. I mean,
and then you got
all stars on your team. That's not the issue anymore.
Not at all. And then you got to keep your eye on the Jazz, too. They're like the West Coast version of the Philadelphia 76ers. Always get in the playoffs, always have a pretty good seed, but never go anywhere. So you got two guys. Gobert, the internet's going crazy. Everyone seems to think it's a foregone conclusion that Rudy Gobert is going to get traded to the Chicago Bulls. What that trade package will look like, I'm not sure. But you also have a pretty good guard there in Donovan Mitchell.
I keep hearing Mitchell's another one that might get traded.
Well, they're pulling the plug. They want to start over. They just lost their coach, and
so they feel like they've gone as far as they can go, and they want to try again
because they're chasing the Warriors.
Oh, well, you can't blame them for that then.
And Memphis is a really good basketball team as well. They were in the Western Conference Finals. As long as Ja can stay healthy, they're going to be right there for years to come. They got a big guy in Jaren Jackson who I love. And they picked one pick ahead of the Sixers. And then, look, I don't know what's going to come of the Lakers and all this nonsense coming out of there. But, if you get LeBron and Anthony Davis healthy for any extended period of time, you have the potential to rip off a lot of wins.
But Anthony Davis can never, ever stay healthy.
See, but you get to this guy – it's like the live guys with golf who are going to the Saudi League for all that money. Like, competing and winning championships, that's not what makes these guys tick. Now, if me and you were God-gifted like them, yeah, we would be in the gym and trying to win championships, and we would care about our legacy. I don't think guys today give a rat's ass about their legacy and winning championships. They want their money.
They're looking at the bottom line.
They want to build their brand, and they want to get as much money as they can. And if winning's a byproduct of that, so be it. Is that right? I don't know. But I don't know. And I look at guys like Anthony Davis, Ben Simmons. Like LeBron's just padding his brand at this point. He's really good when he wants to be, but if LeBron James is your best player at whatever, 38, 39 years old, are you winning a championship?
I don't know if you can anymore.
I don't know. I think those days are dead, in my opinion.
I mean, he's still good. He's still way above average.
But the Lakers traded for Anthony Davis so that Anthony Davis could be Batman and LeBron could transition into being Robin. Right?
Anthony
Davis is never healthy.
He's forever hurt.
And then they bring in Russell Westbrook for whatever reason, and that was a disaster. Is Russell Westbrook going to move this offseason?
No, he's another unmovable player.
But, you got to trade trash for trash.
Pretty much. I mean, is it worth trading trading for him if you're the Sixers?
No.
I mean, you could probably trade Tobias for him. I'm sure that could be.
No,
I'm sure
fine.
LA would be happy with that.
Then you're going to have Harden and Westbrook in the same backcourt.
That would be a disaster.
Like, I'd rather take a chance on Kyrie than trade for Westbrook. If I'm any team, not to say neither of them are going to happen for the Sixers. At least I hope not. But like that doesn't. You need to take a step forward. You can't just move pieces around and have it be different and expect to take the next step. It needs to be strategic, tactical moves that get you over Boston, over Milwaukee, over potentially Brooklyn to get to an Eastern Conference final, let alone a championship. I think we both agree that overall the East is way better than the West these days.
Yeah, but the very top end, at the top end, you still have to beat the Warriors. And apparently nobody can do that right now. And I would think that the Warriors will probably get better because they'll probably pick up somebody in the offseason too. Because that's kind of what they do.
All right, this is from hoopsrumors.com. Like PJ Tucker, set to become an unrestricted free agent. I would love him in Philadelphia.
Can you afford him?
I mean, how much can he make? I mean, he's like 38 years old.
And you could probably get him for one of those player exception deals, which for what, $5 million, something like that, $5-6 million. I mean, I don't know how many exceptions they have for this offseason. That I don't know, but
I think they have 2.
Well, he might be a good one. See, those exception players, if you can hit on 1 out of 2, then it could really change your team. You don't have to get a great player, just a good, serviceable role player.
Like, I'm skimming this article on hoopsrumors.com. Like, I'm just looking at the names, and I just want to fall asleep reading it. Georges Niang, Furkan Korkmaz, Isaiah Joe, Paul Reed. Danny Green blew his knee out. He's gone. Shake Milton. Like, those guys can't cut it in a series against a really good basketball team in the playoffs. You got to be better. All right, we got a hockey game. Going on right now. I'm sure that started already, right?
It started at 8 o'clock.
So it's 8:49. The Avalanche are up 1-0, and boy, I watched. I think I tapped out at 4-0 on Saturday night.
I stayed to the bitter end
with the Avalanche. I mean,
yeah, I stayed to the bitter end because I can't stand Tampa Bay, and I wanted to see them get their brains beat in, which they absolutely did.
Baseball Man 4, big fan of Williams. He's a solid big who can provide boards, points, especially dunks. And he says his opinion is no. I'm not sure what his opinion to no is. If it's to bringing in another star and making the Sixers even more of a circus than they already are, then I 100% agree with you. And Mark Williams out of Duke, he's a fine prospect. He's a fine-looking prospect. Maybe he'll be there at 23. According to the mocks, he won't be, but, who knows? I think it's going to be a very unpredictable draft. But Brad the Fly, before we get into it's 1-0 Avalanche in the finals in Game 3. This is all hands on
midway through the first period.
So this is all hands on deck.
A power play, by the way.
This is let me throw that on. What's that? ESPN?
Channel 6.
Oh, you're going ABC. Okay.
You're on ABC.
This is all hands on deck for Tampa Bay. They're at home.
Yeah,
they need to win.
They have to win this game.
So
I would expect a much better performance out of Tampa Bay. I mean,
it can't get much worse. I mean, that 7-0. I mean, that's a Flyer score.
That was, the problem that Tampa Bay is going to have in this series, and that they've had in this series, is the Avalanche they're faster than they are, a lot faster. If you watch team speed, it's very, very apparent, and it also looks like Tampa Bay's tired. I think that series against the Rangers may have taken a lot out of them.
And you also look at the wear down effect. I mean, they played 90 games over the past during this run. I guess COVID was a little different, but they played a lot of hockey.
They still went deep into the playoffs each year, and the whole thing is the Avalanche. They swept in the first round. They had a 6-game series in the second round. Then they swept the third round. So the Avalanche have had a lot of time off and have had a lot of time to reset. And there is a big home ice advantage with the Avalanche too. We can't forget that. Playing in Denver in the Rocky Mountains in that thin air does affect you. Particularly late in games. I mean, that's something. If you remember the Denver Nuggets, when they're good, they always exploit that with teams against the opponents. They're used to playing in that altitude, and they're in shape to play in that altitude. Nobody can really get used to it unless they play in it all the time. That's a huge advantage. And Tampa Bay just tied it up.
They needed it.
Yeah, they just tied it up.
1-1.
It appeared Cirelli walked in and walked right in and scored, and it looked like it got deflected in off of a skate or something, but it was a nice play. And now it's tied at 1. So Tampa Bay, as we both said, has to win this game. All hands on deck.
I think they will.
I think they will too. I think they win this game and then they lose game 4. Now that was just an unbelievable play by Cirelli. I mean, my God. He played the give and go. He played the give and go. He faked that he was going to bring the puck across the net on the breakaway and kind of just like threw a little slow ball, and the goalie reacted. Kemper went with him across the net, and the puck found the short side. It was just he completely faked him out. That was a really nice goal.
Prism 280, the 7-game series against the Leafs didn't help those old tired legs of the Bolts.
No, but they did get a freebie against Florida.
Well, now Colorado right back to buzzing. Look at the way Colorado moves the puck.
They're so deep. They've got 4 lines that can score. It's. I mean, you look at some of the guys that I forgot how you pronounce it, Nikushin or something like that. That guy's unbelievable, and he's on the third line. I mean, that team they have guys. Everybody in that team, it seems like, can score.
We had some coaching changes in the NHL too. Flyers, they grabbed Torts. Some people really like it. Some people don't. I like it short term. I don't know about long term because he's hard on his players. He holds his players accountable, and that's not.
The players are not crazy about it. Brandon Dubinsky, he sent his prayers to the Flyer players, which I mean.
But I need a coach like that. I need some tough loving. I need all these prospects.
Brandon Dubinsky owes a lot to John Tortorella because Brandon Dubinsky was not an overly talented player, but you know what? He went and he made him. He developed him into a really good defensive player who could score. He turned him into when Brandon Dubinsky first came up, he was a grinding left wing who went in the corners and won a lot of corner battles, but was not really a scorer or a playmaker. He's just a grinder. In all the years that he played for Tortorella, he ended up being a center and scoring. So I don't know what Brandon Dubinsky's problem is, but that's ridiculous. And Matthew Barnaby, I'm not even going to get into him because he's kind of a clownish kind of a guy anyway.
He was a goon.
Yeah, he was. He was an effective goon though. And he made some comments, but you know what? As far as being a Ranger fan, Tortorella was my favorite coach of all the guys that the Rangers ever had coaching. I really liked him. I liked the fact that he held everybody accountable and that there was nobody that was above being benched if they didn't deserve to be benched. I mean, he used to bench Marian Gaborik for not blocking shots. You got to love that. You know, play if you don't block shots and you don't play defense, you are not going to play for John Tortorella.
And like, I need a guy who's going to ruffle some feathers in the locker room.
I think the Flyers need that too. I think some
the Flyers got a lot of prospects that Hextall, accumulated that were supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. They were untouchable in all these trades. Now they're all up.
Well, you had
and they don't do anything.
Alain Vigneault, as far as playing defense, was a softie. Okay, plain fact. I like Alain Vigneault as a coach. I like the fact that he allowed players to use their offensive ability, but he never taught anybody how to play defense. This guy is going to teach these guys how to play defense, and he's going to hold them accountable. And you know what? Some of these players may not like it. You know what? Some of these players shouldn't be in Philadelphia if they don't like it, because that's what these guys want. The ownership and the fans and the upper management, they want a team that's going to play some defense and play tough. They believe in their goaltender, Carter Hart. Otherwise, they wouldn't. Well, you give them a defense. Let's see what happens. Okay, you get a team that plays layers defense, which is what he had the Rangers doing. Okay, a team that's going to play in layers, block a lot of shots, keep the front porch clean, and keep players out of the slot. And I think you're going to see a different goalie. You know, what I think he's going to do, he's going to toughen these guys up. And if they don't want to toughen up, they're not going to be there. And you know what? For a team that finished in last place, if they don't want to be there, he should have no problem getting rid of them.
But a guy like Konechny
needs a kick in the ass. Plain and simple.
Exactly. Like, this guy's supposed to come up and score a bunch of goals and be this offensive force. He hadn't done nothing. Well,
you know what? I don't know what Tortorella's plan is for him. I think that's a guy that should be standing in front of the net more and trying to play a Chris Kreider type of game. You know, where he's a strong guy, stand in front of the net, start learning how to deflect more pucks into the net. Kevin Hayes the same way. I mean, I know he was injured a lot, but you know what? Kevin Hayes is a perimeter player, and he's too soft. And I said that before when he was with the Rangers.
See that goal?
Nothing has changed, and now Tampa Bay just scored again, so it's 2-1.
A little tic-tac-toe action there.
Yeah, that was
Tampa Bay. They're ready to go tonight.
Yeah, Tampa Bay. That was a beautiful play, and Palat put it home.
Like, how much more can I expect out of Coots? I would assume he's going to be the captain next year. He's a two-way guy, so you would think he should be. He should fit well. Yeah, I would think that he would fit well with Tortorella's system. I think Tortorella's system will also help some of their defensemen, because the forwards all come back. You know, his system. Everybody plays defense, and what he likes to do is he likes to get you on counterattacks, and control and be able to control the puck in your own end and get counterattacks. And he's got some pretty good puck moving defensemen on the team, but they're going to have to learn how to play defense. That's the most important thing for them right now, is they've got to get that goals against average down. They gave up way too many goals. Yeah, I mean, you're giving up 5, 6, 7, some games even 9 goals in a hockey game. That's 3 a period. That's way too many.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the point is, when you're down that much, you can't. It just, especially if you fall down early in the first period, and you're always behind and trying to chase the game, you can't play a defensive style. And Tortorella is going to teach them how to play defense. Now, how long it's going to take for that to happen, I think it could happen pretty quick. If these guys aren't going to be big babies and they're going to go out there and play, then they should be okay. And I don't see the players as being big babies. I don't think the Flyers have a prima donna type of team. I really don't.
I just think they're not skilled. I think they overvalued the prospects that they have. Morgan Frost,
but
Travis Konechny, Ivan Provorov.
That's what
like, I get Provorov to be in like the top 5.
Provorov I think Provorov is a good defenseman. I don't think that he's the problem.
Is he a number 1 pairing defenseman, do you think?
You know what? If the forwards come back and help him out, he could be. mean, you can't. The thing is, the Flyers' defense.
How
Flyers
is John
forward-
Tortorella going to teach forwards that have never played a lick of defense in their entire careers how to play defense? Can they get better? Sure,
improve.
maybe.
Yeah, but they can improve. They're still young. You're not dealing with a bunch of 35-year-olds. There's no reason why they can't. Why these guys can't improve and be two-way players. That's what Tortorella wants. Okay, remember Tortorella coached a team that beat the he was the last coach that beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in a playoff series. Okay, so I think he knows how to coach. Tampa Bay made some incredibly stupid trades, and that's why Tortorella ended up losing his job. I mean, it's not his fault what happened in Columbus. I would not blame him at all. As far as his problem with Vancouver, that was probably him. With the Rangers, Sather was interfering too much and wanted to make the lineups and wouldn't let Tortorella make his own lineups. And Tortorella got mad and said a few things to Sather, and Sather got rid of him.
Baseball Man 4 checking us out on Tuesday. Hockey is a toughness and grit sport. From what I'm hearing, Tortorella will transform the Flyers for the better.
He will. They'll be a gritty.
That's
great.
I hear that. And it's time for these young boys to get kicked in the ass to the point that they either fold up and get out, or they toughen up and become men. I just don't see.
Well, John Tortorella will make them become men. There's no question in my mind. I think I'm a little upset that he chose Philadelphia, because I know Philadelphia is going to be a much better team now. I was kind of hoping he'd go back out into the Western Conference maybe, and try to toughen up maybe Anaheim or one of those teams. The last thing I wanted to see was him coming back into our conference again. He's a good coach. He'll figure it out.
Prism 280, he likes the hire. He'll clean up the laziness and the low compete effort guys. If anything, he won't hold their hands.
No, they won't play.
Look, I'm all for accountability.
He will listen. He has no qualms about. He's the modern day Mike Keenan. Okay, if you guys remember Mike Keenan when he was coaching, okay, Mike Keenan was never really a friend of the players. Okay, Mike Keenan, if you weren't playing well, you weren't going to play, and it didn't matter if you were Brian Leach or Mark Messier or any of the guys when he coached the Rangers when they won the Stanley Cup that year. Okay, Tortorella is the same way. If you don't play defense, if your compete level is low, if you're going to play like sissies, you're not going to play, and he's going to call you out. He's going to let people in the press know. And I'll tell you what, his press conferences, you guys are going to love his press conferences, because he's a beast when it comes to those press conferences. If he doesn't like a question you ask, he's just going to say, "And who are you again?" And I'm not answering that question. That's a stupid question. Next.
Like, I'm looking at the roster right now. Like, Atkinson was okay last year. Coots was hurt. Hayes was hurt.
Atkinson played for Tortorella
in Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, maybe that can be a guy that fits in.
Exactly.
But, like Joel Farabee, does he fit with Tortorella?
I think he could. Farabee, I think Farabee's only problem is that he always is getting hurt. I mean, he seems to me, from what I've seen of him, and understand I don't watch a lot of Flyer games, but from what I've seen of him, he can score. He's tough. He'll drop the gloves. I mean, he seems to me to be a Tortorella type of player. Okay. If he can get Kevin Hayes to toughen up a little bit and be more competitive in front of the net, I think
they overlap in New York.
No.
Okay.
No, but Kevin Hayes is a good offensive player, but for his size, he needs to plant his big fat ass in front of the net. Period. He's 6'4", weighs about 240 pounds. He can fly all over the ice, but you know what? You need him to be a Phil Esposito, not to be a to stand in front of the net, to knock home the garbage, to be unmovable, to screen the goalie. That's what you need Kevin Hayes to do.
And then
not skate all over the ice with the puck and try to make a play and circle around, take the puck from the point, circle behind the net, skate out to the other point, and then pass it. That's not the kind of player you want him to be. Okay, and I saw too much of that in New York. I'm sure he does the same thing in Philly because I doubt he changed his game. But Tortorella will have him playing in front of the net because I know how Tortorella thinks. He likes when you have a big guy on your team, he wants them in front of the net.
And he's gonna have to make men out of Morgan Frost, Bobby Brink, Owen Tippett came over from the trade for Giroux. Oscar Lindblom, who's faded.
I think
on defense, Cam York, Travis Sanheim, Ristolainen came over, and I think he got hurt from Buffalo.
Ristolainen, I never liked him. I told you.
You had that from jump. That was not a good trade.
I never liked him. He's a stiff. He for a guy his size, he doesn't use his size to his advantage enough. I mean, he's big and he's strong.
6'4", 220 for a hockey player. I mean, that's
big. That's big.
Really big.
Do you really think he hits enough? I mean, that
no,
guy.
I didn't see him. I didn't see him really do much of anything last year.
I mean,
everyone told me not to worry about it because he was on Buffalo, and Buffalo was god awful. But you hit the nail right on the head.
Why do you think they were god awful though?
It's a good point. I mean, you had it from Jump Street. I think they gave up a first-round pick for him.
He played on their first pair. He doesn't hit. The last thing you want is a big defenseman that doesn't hit.
Well, that doesn't sound like it fits with Tortorella.
Well, he's going to hit or he's going to be on another team.
I'm all in favor.
I would tell you that Tortorella will toughen him up. Okay, and if he doesn't toughen him up, he's not going to play. I think next year he hits everything that moves. And one thing he does have is he has a hell of a shot. I mean, the guy is not talent ridden. He's got talent. He can skate well, but a guy his size needs to be fierce. I'll give you an example on the Rangers. Okay, you need to have him be Jacob Trouba and just run people over. And when he hits somebody, make it hurt.
I mean, Jacob Trouba is tremendous.
Yeah, but that's the kind of player he could be if he wanted to. You know what I'm saying? He's a better skater than Jacob Trouba. I can tell you that. Jacob Trouba is not a great skater, but Jacob Trouba hits everything that moves, and he's not afraid to hit anybody, including Crosby or anybody else. And they kept trying to get him suspended and saying he was a dirty player, except all he did was hit legally, and he never got in any trouble with the league. Even as much as Carolina and Pittsburgh were crying about it, it is what it is. But that's what he's going to do with him. He's going to make him tough. And then if you want to have him on your first pair of defense with Provorov, you got a righty and a lefty. You got the hitter who can take a slap shot, a good hard slap shot, and then you've got the skill guy. But he'll get that going. I can tell you right now, the Flyers are not void of talent. Okay,
sure about that?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I watched him last year. I didn't see very much going on.
Prism says he had 230 hits. When I saw him, I never saw him hit anybody. Okay, maybe it's because the only time I saw him was when they played the Rangers. And when they played the Rangers, he didn't hit anybody. Okay, so he needs to get more than 230 hits. Well, Gudas led the league with 355. Gudas, that's the kind. I mean, he's got to hit like Gudas. Gudas is effective doing that. But that's
Farabee.
That's got to be his game. That's got to be his game. And you're right about that. But that's
Prism 280 says Risto was 13th in the league in hits.
Yeah, but he should be in the top 5.
So you got to hit more.
More.
He thinks Farabee, Prism 280 thinks Farabee has the highest ceiling of all the Flyers forwards on the main roster.
I agree 100% about that. I think that guy can score. I've seen some of the goals he's scored, and the goals that he scored look like snipes to me. So I mean, maybe I could tell the difference between a guy who's a scorer and a guy who's just a flat out sniper. He has the ability to be a sniper. He's got a really good shot, and he's fast, and he can do a lot of things. I would like to see that. I would like to see that a lot more. But again, as far as Ristolainen, how do you pronounce his name again?
Ristolainen.
As far as he's concerned, he's got to hit. He's got to hit more with a purpose, and he's got to do it a lot more. I don't just because he's 13th. It's got to be more than that. He needs to be in the top 5 at his size.
You know what I'm saying? Bruce Cassidy, he gets fired in Boston. He gets a job right away.
Well, Boston, there are 2 firings I totally don't understand. Why would you fire Barry Trotz, and why would you fire Bruce Cassidy?
I think Vegas. I think Cassidy's a good coach.
I think Vegas made a very smart decision.
And Trotz is still out there.
Trotz is probably. I've heard a lot. I'm starting to hear now that he might end up going back to Nashville.
I mean, they're always kind of like a mat team there, so maybe he'll help that.
Well, they're saying he might want to finish his career there. He's from Winnipeg, so a lot of the Jets, they want him very badly as well. We'll see about where Trotz goes, but look, Tortorella, I wouldn't be if I was a Flyer fan, I wouldn't be so upset about them bringing in John Tortorella. John Tortorella, one thing I will say about him is even if it doesn't work out, those players will be better players after he leaves for sure. He's going to teach this team some discipline. They're going to be tough because that's what he wants. You're not necessarily going to see a lot of fights, but you're going to see a lot of pushing and shoving and scrums and more fight in this team. I think that's what you're going to get.
All right, let's move on to baseball. We have a few minutes left here. Ryan Brodo, Tom Arnone coming on after us with Run It Back Philly. So stay tuned for that. We're always loaded here on Monday nights on A2D Radio. We're live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, and Instagram. Download us wherever you get your podcast. If you miss us, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio. Just turn on the notifications. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and don't miss a thing. Get into baseball here to wrap it up. June has been a good month for the Phillies, for the Mets, for the Boston Red Sox, for the Yankees.
Red Sox have really picked it up.
I mean, I picked them to win the East in the beginning of the season, and they're starting to hit. Well, Story has come back and really completed that lineup.
He's definitely helped their lineup. They're missing Nady Eovaldi with a back injury. They don't know when he's coming back. I heard he might be back towards the end of this week, and now they're not so sure. So we'll see.
They have Whitlock. They have Whitlock on the IL too.
Yeah,
supposed to throw a bullpen tomorrow.
Yeah, they need to get some of these pitchers back. I know Sales pitched a simulated game the other day, so we'll see what's going on with them. But they're playing better now. They're definitely. I think they're in a position now where they could make the playoffs. I mean, their biggest competition, obviously, Toronto is going to make the playoffs. I think that's pretty much established. I think you can pretty much expect to see Tampa Bay make the playoffs. So the question is going to be, can the Red Sox beat out Texas, the Angels, or the Guardians? I think they're better than all 3 of those teams. So that's right now is where it stands. By the way, a little update. The Yankees are ahead of Tampa Bay right now, 2-0. Cole was in complete command of this game. Let's see, what inning is it? I can't tell if that's
top 8. They're up 2-0. Cole was cruising. I had it on a little bit earlier.
Yeah, Cole was in complete command.
They're going to break that record. If they keep getting starting pitching like this, the Yankees are going to break that record. What is it, 119 they got to get to? 116.
116. 116 is the record set by Seattle in 2001.
Because I mean, Glaber's hitting, Rizzo's hitting.
Glaber's been on fire. I mean, he obviously whatever he was smoking the last 2 years, he either got a better brand or he stopped smoking. Period. Because this season he's back to being the big star that we all expected him to be. Anthony Rizzo is crushing the ball. I think he hit his 20th home run tonight.
19. It was 19. I just looked it up.
Okay, sorry about that. I was close.
Still, he's going for 40.
Yeah, Judge is up to 25.
He's going for 60.
Yeah, pretty much. Stanton, I think, only has 13, but he also missed a couple of weeks. But the Yankees can hit, and their starting pitching has really been good. The relief pitching up until yesterday was unbelievably good. Yesterday they had a bad day to say the least. They blew an 8-3 lead, which hasn't happened too often this season, but it happened yesterday. So
come watch the Phillies. Happens every night.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But I can't throw punches or shade at the Phillies. They're 15-2 in June. Schwarber's hitting.
Listen, between the Phillies and the Yankees right now, they're not going to win every single game. They're going to lose some games. I mean, it happens that way. I think the Phillies are going to find a way to get into the playoffs.
I hope so. I really hope so. I mean, to really ensure it, it'd be nice if JT Realmuto, the anointed best catcher in baseball by the fan base, would be, get a little involved here at some point. I don't understand why.
You know what? I don't agree with that statement at all. And with all due respect to JT Realmuto, who is way better than any catcher the Yankees have, I will give you that. So I'm not trying to put him down there. But Salvador Perez, I take him over Realmuto.
Salvador Perez is hitting 210
this year.
Yeah,
he's having a tough year, isn't he?
A lot of catchers are having a tough year because I filled out my all-star ballot before the show while I was waiting. And catcher was tough. Well, Wilson Contreras is having a monster season for the Cubs.
Right.
But you look at the
the
AL
American
catchers,
League, the catching in the American League this year stinks.
I voted Perez just out of respect. He does have 10 homers from behind the plate, which is pretty good.
Well, he had 47 last year, which was
silly.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. They have a good young catcher too, the Royals, so he might be DHing more this season.
But like you look at these standings, I mean, look, the AL is probably going to be the entire East, excluding Baltimore, and then one team from
every other division, unless Chicago can just turn on the Jets here and play like the team that we thought they were. But I don't see any signs of that happening. I think a managerial change in Chicago is going to happen pretty soon.
But like the National League, like you say, the Phillies are definitely going to make the playoffs. You have Mets, Phillies, Braves, Cardinals, Brewers.
They're better than the Brewers.
Dodgers, Padres, Giants for 6 spots. The Mets never lose.
No, the Mets have been playing well. I got it.
And I think they're going to get Mad Max back next week.
Yeah, and DeGrom could be back after the All-Star break. I've heard different stories about him where they're expecting him right after the All-Star break. Then another one said August 1st, but they're going to get him back at some point too. So that's going to make that team pretty hard to deal with. But they're getting good pitching from everywhere. The Mets,
the Dodgers and Padres are going. The Braves and Mets are probably going. The Cardinals.
They got to try to. The Cardinals are going to win the division, so you don't have to worry about the Cardinals.
I think they are, but I mean it's tied. They're playing right now. The Brewers and the Cardinals. on Fox Sports 1. They're tied for the division lead.
Didn't the Brewers did have a big lead until they lost all their pitching.
And they can't hit.
Yeah,
So
they
I
don't.
do
I
agree.
think, who's out right now? Woodruff and Peralta?
Woodruff and Peralta are out.
Okay, is anybody else out, or they still have what's his name, the guy on your fantasy team, that pitcher, what's his name again?
Which one?
Their number one pitcher.
Oh, Burns. He's pitching tonight. No, he's not on my fantasy team.
Corbin Burns. Oh, I thought Corbin Burns was on your team. No,
I took Bryce in the first round because I'm a homer.
Well, I don't blame you for that.
And he's a stud.
Yes,
He
Burns
was
also the MVP last year, so I can understand that.
Yeah, but Burns is on the hill right now. Like, that's a big series.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
a big
absolutely.
series because I don't think that division is going to have 2 playoff teams.
No, but I think overall, I think the Cardinals are a little bit better.
Well, Cardinals just do everything right. All those little things that we talk about.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Right.
I think Flaherty's back now.
Flaherty's back. Mats will be coming back. Pretty good bullpen, and they catch the ball. They run the bases. They hit for average. They hit for power. Tommy Edmonds a tremendous player.
Goldschmidt is having a MVP type season right now.
Yeah, he's obviously, when I cast my ballot here, let me see if I have.
Yeah, he's been absolutely superb.
Yeah, he's the MVP in the National League because he's mashing and he's going to be a goal.
As of right now, we have to make this distinction. This is as of right now. We don't know how the season's going to end. So.
No,
but
defended right now, it's Goldschmidt. And I mean, I'm looking at it, Brad. I mean, Jose Ramirez is. I think it's closer than you think between him and Judge. Judge obviously has the home runs, but
Ramirez is having a great year. I took a look at his numbers. He's pretty daggone good this year. He really is.
I mean, he's already at like 65 RBIs and he's got 10 steals and hits for a tremendous average. And he has
big batting average too.
And he has the Guardians right in the thick of it. And I don't think there's much talent there. You have Bieber pitching.
Speaking of stolen bases, the aforementioned Aaron Judge just stole a base. By the way,
there you go. Closes the gap a little bit.
Yeah. Listen, he's like he steals bases a lot, like Alex Rodriguez used to. Doesn't steal a lot. He kind of is selective. If the pitcher, he'll go if the pitcher's not paying attention to him. Like if the pitcher pays the least bit of attention to him, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, well, the Phillies are running this year. They were running under Girardi and they're running under Thompson. Like JT has like 5 steals.
He was never slow though.
No, JT's a tremendous athlete.
Yeah, he's one of those catchers that could always run.
JT, and his average isn't tragic, JT, but his power is just not there. What I don't understand with these hitting coaches in the major leagues, like JT, perennial all-star, his whole career, Miami, Philadelphia. Then we get this guy Kevin Long to be our hitting coach, and he's messing with JT's leg kick. He's got this leg kick out of nowhere he's never had before. It's like I don't understand it. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
I don't know. Kevin Long used to be a batting coach for the Yankees. He was one of Joe Girardi. He was a Joe Girardi favorite, by the way, just in case you're wondering about him.
Well, he probably won't last past
the season. I mean,
then.
Don't forget between him and what's his name, your manager now, Rob Thompson. Those two guys were everywhere Joe Girardi went. They went with him. So
I think Joe was just broken. He just didn't have anything left in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's saying here Torres is a DH, in my opinion. Are we talking about Gleyber Torres?
No, he's not a DH. He's not a shortstop. He can't play shortstop because he's not a good enough fielder.
But he's a real good second baseman, though.
You can hide guys at second base, or he's pretty big too, so he could play third. But you guys are set at third because you traded for Donaldson.
Yeah, I mean, Torres is a very good second baseman. He just is not a shortstop. That's kind of what it is with him.
And then, the trade deadline is going to be absolute absolute chaos. You're going to have a lot of teams competing for, these bullpen guys and innings. And
yeah, I think it's more about the bullpen this year than it is about starting pitching. But most definitely, I think your team in particular has got to do something about the bullpen.
Like now, it's ridiculous. Like you have one guy out there that I trust, two guys out there that I trust.
But Dominguez hasn't been bad.
Dominguez is good.
He's been pretty solid.
And
Knebel hasn't been very good. Hand has been up and down, but he's not bad.
He's terrible. Stop.
No.
I
warned you about Familia, though.
Oh, Familia is a disaster.
Yeah, I warned you.
Everybody knew he was going to. The only hope we had for Familia in Philadelphia is that maybe a change of scenery would.
By the way, am I allowed to say that there is a very special thing going on with Garrett Cole right now in Tampa Bay?
Oh, we got
beans.
We got some action.
May I spill the beans? Is it okay to mention that he has a?
He's your pitcher, not mine.
Yeah. Let's.
I'm surprised I haven't gotten alerts about it yet.
Yeah, we're in the bottom of the 8th inning, and they're
yeah. Tampa Bay's not.
A baseball has not found grass in the outfield.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is not producing at the plate tonight.
Right, at all.
Well, did you see Mikolos? He lost it with
2 strikes and 2 outs. That's just for what in the 9th inning.
Oh my gosh, I'd be livid. I'd be absolutely livid.
Yeah,
So we got that going. And
yeah,
Cole,
I just flipped the channel back to the Yankee game, and all they did the entire half inning was showing Garrett Cole pacing back and forth in the Yankee dugout, and I didn't realize that he had he had all these strikeouts, and nobody was reaching first base.
I mean, looking at the NL. Brad, I mean, am I crazy for thinking Aaron Nola is the NL Cy Young right now? He's in contention.
He's been pretty good. Wheeler's been pretty good too.
Yeah, they both. Alcantara is doing his thing down in Miami.
Right now, the way from what I've seen, okay, Alcantara to me looks like he's the best pitcher in the National League. Now,
Nola should have like 4 extra wins because these boneheads in the bullpen go in and they mess it up. There, Tampa Bay just scored again.
So it's 3-1.
3-1.
Good for them.
It's 2 minutes.
I didn't think they would lose tonight.
I wouldn't count them out. Colorado's a very good team, but
I don't see
Bryce
Colorado.
Blackwell. Nolan's been good. Bryce Blackwell. Yeah, Bryce, it's been awesome that the Phillies have been better. It stinks when we get in this slow time of the sports season, waiting for training camp, and you just have a bad news Bears baseball team like we thought we were going to have. So it's awesome that they're playing better.
Okay, now I can officially say it. The no-hitter is over for Garrett Cole in the 8th inning.
Yeah, who got a hit? Ruzarina?
Yes.
Really? He's pretty good.
Yeah. Yes. Clean ground single up the middle.
Yeah, Rob is managing great. Rob Thompson, he's managing great. I agree with you, Bryce. He's working with a short deck with his bullpen. Like, I don't know what else you want him to do.
Yeah, I would think the Yankees would probably get Michael King in the game.
What is it, 2-0 still?
It's 2-0. I would think how many pitches?
Well, when's Chapman coming back for you guys?
Oh boy, they may go with the two. They may go with the 2-inning save from Holmes. Chapman. They're saying Chapman is throwing off the mound now.
So
and he's throwing simulated games. So he's.
What does that mean? A simulated game?
Well, he's coming in. He goes in and he throws like 15, 20 pitches. Then he sits down for 10 minutes, and then he gets up and throws another 15, 20 pitches. And they have live batters in the batter's box who aren't swinging.
So it's a glorified bullpen session.
Right.
with
With a
breaks.
live batter. Right.
With
With a
breaks.
live batter. So that's his situation. Loizaga also they're missing, and that's a between the two of them. Those are big losses to not have
Chad
them.
Green too.
Chad Green's not coming back. He just had Tommy John surgery, and
No.
that's a big loss too. I mean, if you look at it, last year their three top bullpen pitchers were Green, Loizaga, and Chapman, and they're all injured, and yet the Yankees bullpen has still survived all that, and Clay Holmes has become the man. I mean, little surprising that he's up so early, but it looks like Cole's now behind in the count to the to Lau, so he's probably done. I don't know why Boone didn't make a pitching change, but I guarantee you, if he loses Lau, they're going to make a pitching change. So we'll see what happens.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Another edition of Sports Hounds in the Book. He's Brad Breyer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Thank you to everyone who commented, shared. Thank you for our great sponsors down at All Campus and ARIA Public Adjusting. Ralphie and Frank with the tag team producing tonight. Great job per usual. Until next Monday,